Hi everyone, it's your girl Kanisha Forsythe-Crichlow back again with another update. This update is going to be about my 2 week wait. So, listen, this 2 week wait has been a roller coaster. It has been very, very confusing, but I am definitely going to update you all with what has happened and am I as optimistic as I was while I was testing for my ovulation progression, as to if this month is going to be our cycle? Not really. I would say 50-50, meaning that I am trying to safeguard myself from the disappointment, but at the same time, there's still a little bit of hope there. So let me get straight into it, right? So those of you who would have watched my prior video with my ovulation progression, I would try to link it maybe here, maybe there, somewhere. I'll link it somewhere so you could go and follow with me. And I would have ovulated on cycle day 15. Ovulated, well, I shouldn't say that. I would have received a peak on cycle day 15. Glow up would have predicted a peak. However, if it is you look back at my video, you would notice where I said 2 days before the peak that Glow would have indicated, I would have my urine sample was very diluted. So I felt as though, yes, Glow would have estimated a peak in the evening of cycle day 15, which was the 3rd of June. However, I think I would have seen a different result, like actually seeing it, had I had the proper urine sample. So I'm saying all this to say I've been testing for a while now. I think I started using the OPK sticks in 2019, in February of 2019. So I'm familiar with what a positive OPK stick looks like in terms of the test line being very dark. Well, either what I've noticed is either two things. Either the test line is just as dark as the control line, or it is even darker than the control line. That's what I know it to be. However, on cycle day 15, that is not what I saw based on my eyesight, and given the fact that I knew it that my urine sample was very diluted. Moving on from that, so like I said, Glow would have predicted a peak on cycle day 15. Moving on to cycle day 16, some of the symptoms that I would have had in terms of ovulation day, I would have seen egg white cervical mucus, and the test line started to fade. The OPK test line started to fade. Let me just go back a little. On cycle day 15, when Glow would have seen my peak, what I did notice though is that I had a change in body temperature. Usually, I tend to be very cold, especially in the womb area. And when I say cold, not that I feel cold, but my body tends to be very cold. So especially in my womb area. So I noticed on the cycle day 15, sorry, that my womb area is very warm and my temperature is very high. And I started seeing the egg white cervical mucus on cycle day 15. So like I said, Glow would have estimated peak LH surge on cycle day 15. So I would assume that cycle day 16 would be ovulation day. And like I said, the OPK stick test line started to get lighter in comparison to what I would have seen on cycle day 15. Moving on to cycle day 17, I was gassy, which is 1 DPO. I was gassy, and like I said, the test line started to fade on the OPK stick. My husband and I baby danced on cycle day 17, and we also baby danced the day before I would have received the peak. Just a little, info there. Moving on to cycle day 18, which would have been 2 days past ovulation. I had no symptoms, and I also recorded the fact that the test line started to fade. And why I keep testing after a positive is just to it's almost like a confirmation that, okay, yes, when I did see that peak, that was the intended peak and there wasn't something else happening. That's kind of like a confirmation outside of taking my temperature, which I tend to not do all the time because that is a tedious task, but it's also a very useful thing to do, to take your temperature so that you can know when you're about to ovulate and also confirm ovulation. But like I said, it's a tedious task, so I don't do it as often as I should. Moving on to cycle day 19, 3 days past ovulation, I was gassy. And the strange thing is this: on the morning of cycle day 19, the OPK test line was fading away, looked very fainted. However, at 4 p.m. on cycle day 19, I got a peak. And when I say I got a peak, like I had a peak. Chloe estimated it to be a peak. I know what a peak looks like in my eyesight. So when that test line is extremely dark, that is what I had on cycle day 19. So that had me a bit bothered. But then I was like, you know what, let's move on from that. So my husband and I baby danced just in case. Just to put a little pin in it, we would have, my period tracker would have estimated me to ovulate on cycle day 19. However, I would have ovulated a little earlier by way of Glow predicting the 15th as a peak. However, my usual ovulation is on cycle day 19 or 20, or I should say anything between cycle day 18 to 20. So okay, moving on, me receiving the peak on the evening of cycle day 19. So now we have like a whole revision of what my ovulation day is estimated to be, because I am left confused, right? So on cycle day 20, same thing, gassy, and the OPK test line is still very noticeable. On cycle day 21, which should have been 5 days past ovulation if you're going based on me ovulating on cycle day 16, I had a lot of watery cervical mucus. My breast felt very full. My nipples were slightly like aching, and I had hot flashes. And in the night I had like extreme hunger. That's on cycle day 21. That's 5 days past ovulation, based on me ovulating on cycle day 16. All right, moving on to cycle day 22, which is estimated to be 6 days past ovulation, based on, again, my ovulation on cycle day 16. I had watery CM, TMI, and I had, like, if you all know what a pinhead looks like, that's that little speck of blood. I noticed that. And then I also noticed that day my cervical mucus was very I would say heavy, TMI, because I would notice that it was so much that when I looked at TMI, okay, don't judge me, I inspect these things, because when you're trying to conceive, you're trying to see what your body's doing from what it's not doing, and I'm sure some of you all would agree with that, right? So when I did look at the panty shield, if you put it up in the light, it's a bit crazy, but hey, right? I noticed that the cervical mucus would have seeped through the gel. I mean, and it's that noticeable, and I didn't have it on for a long period of time. So it was a lot of cervical mucus. It was watery. I also felt twinges in my lower abdomen, and at 4 p.m. on cycle day 22, I noticed that I had a lot of cervical mucus again, and it was like quick, because I would feel it, and then I would go to the washroom, right? To the bathroom, sorry. And I noticed at 4 p.m. I had a very light pink hue cervical mucus looking thingy going on there. And what else? I had a slight headache, and I was very tired on cycle day 22, which was 6 days past ovulation. Moving on to cycle day 23, I had no symptoms at all, nothing that I recorded. And this is where the mystery gets even crazier, and sometimes these are the things that make me I guess go into like a funk, because you're unsure of exactly what your body's doing, and you would want to be sure of what is going on with your body so you know how to function. But either way, on cycle day 24, which was supposed to be 8 days past ovulation, based on my peak on cycle day 15, I had stiffness in my womb and backaches, and it prolonged for the entire day, and I was very warm for the most part. Now the stiffness in my womb and the backache, that is more what ovulation feels like to me. Most times when I ovulate, and most times in the past when I would have received a positive OPK, those are the symptoms that I would have. My back would be very achy, my womb would feel very like stiff, and sometimes even heavy, like it's almost like something is there. So what happened to me on cycle day 24 that to me felt more like when I would, you know, the normal symptoms that I would have around my ovulation or my peak OPK. So, like I said, that had me like, you know, a bit disappointed, because I'm like, why am I ovulating this late? Given if that is to happen, that means, you know, the egg would not, if it's fertilized, it may not have enough time to implant and all of whatever. However, you know, I just rolled with the punches. I made my husband aware, and I was like, let's hope for the best, and we could probably try, right? So like I said, on cycle day 24, that's when I had the physical symptoms that I would more so associate with the norm of how I do ovulate based on past experiences. So my husband and I baby danced on that day. And what happened on cycle day 25, which is the 13th of June, I had backaches again. I saw, like, you know, a very light pink hue in my cervical mucus, and it was very warm. On cycle day 16, which would be 1 DPO based on the peak on the 24th, I was very gassy and I had heart palpitation. So on cycle day 26, which would be, I'm going to try to take this slow so you can follow with me, because I myself, I was like, what the absolute France. On cycle day 26, which is 1 day past ovulation based on my peak that I would have received on cycle day 24, I had heart palpitation. I was very gassy. Rewinding to my initial peak on cycle day 15, based on that, cycle day 26 is really 10 days past ovulation, right? So I would have had heart palpitation and I was really gassy. Moving on to cycle day 27, which is 11 days past ovulation based on my first peak, which is cycle day 15, and 2 days past ovulation based on my second peak on cycle day 24. The oh god, the symptoms that I had, I felt like this is the best way for me to describe it. In my womb area, I felt like there was movement. Like, this is literally how it felt. Like, it's almost like you have a container with water and like this is happening there. So that's what I felt. In addition to, my womb felt very heavy. That area felt heavy. And that day I noticed that my areola, now TMI here, my areola is the most of my breast, right? And that day it was huger than normal, and it was like almost shiny, right? So I was like, it was something that definitely made me look like, what is happening here? So on cycle day 27, that's what I had. You know, I had that kind of flow in my womb. My womb felt very heavy. My areola was very pronounced and swollen and shiny. I took a pregnancy test on that day, and it was a big fat negative, right? So on the cycle day 27, that was estimated to be 11 days past ovulation based on my first peak on cycle day 15, and this is 2 days past ovulation based on my second peak on cycle day 24, and I got a big fat negative. I did not test again because, I mean, as much as I could take OPK sticks from now till thy kingdom come and be okay, when it comes to taking pregnancy tests, I have a really, like, it's almost like a phobia, because that level of disappointment, I mean, I've seen it so many times. I tried to avoid it. So I only took a pregnancy test on cycle day 27 and it was negative. What I must add though is that on cycle day 27, I would have downloaded the thermometer app, because I would have seen some, you know, TTCers using it, and they would have, you know, suggest that it's something good to do. And I decided to test, and I think I would have tested early in the morning, or maybe not. Let me just check in my book, because I record everything in this lovely book here that I got from my best friend. Let me tell you all, this video is going to be a bit long, but you know, bear with me. This is all a part of the journey, and I'm excited and very appreciative that you all are taking this journey with me. So, ooh, right. So on cycle day, let me go back a bit, because I actually downloaded the app on cycle day 27, and in the night of on cycle day 24, when I would have gotten that second peak. And on thermometer, they had my LH listed as 167. No, I'm lying. 178, and that was the height of it, right? So moving on. So like I said, on cycle day 27, I decided to take a pregnancy test. It was negative. However, when I took the ovulation test, that was positive according to both glow and thermometer, right? And the LH estimation that they have was 105. So that's that. Moving on from cycle day 27, on cycle day 28, I really didn't have any symptoms, but I noticed egg white cervical mucus. Why? I don't know. On cycle day 29, which is 13 days past ovulation based on the first peak, and 4 days past ovulation based on the second peak, I had small aches in my womb in the wee hours of the morning, and then I felt like pulling sensation at around 10 a.m. that morning. On cycle day 30, which is 14 days past ovulation based on the first peak on the 15th, on cycle day 15, and 5 days past ovulation based on the second peak on cycle day 24, I noticed egg white cervical mucus again and backaches. So to round it up and just to somewhat make sense, I would have had a peak on cycle day 15. I would have also noticed a peak on cycle day 19. I would have also had a peak on cycle day 24. But what I would say is that the peak that I had on cycle day 24, not only that the ovulation strip confirmed that peak in terms of what I'm accustomed seeing via the ovulation test, but my physical symptoms was more in line with what I am accustomed to when ovulating. And what I would say why it is like it has me a bit mind bubbled is because after each peak I would test. So I got a peak on cycle day 15, I continued OPK testing, and I would see where the test line would start fading to the point where, on cycle day 15 it was the peak, it was the highlight of it. Cycle day 16 was very faded, cycle day 17 it was even more faded, cycle day 18 is almost like the test line was non-existent, cycle day 19 in the morning the test line was almost non-existent, and then in the evening of cycle 19 the line was very pronounced, the test line was very pronounced. I could have seen it and I would have received a peak. Cycle day 20, line faded. Cycle day 21, line is faded. Cycle day 22, line is faded. Cycle day 23, line is basically faded as well. And then comes cycle day 24, where I started getting all of the physical symptoms of ovulation. And then I noticed I got the peak, right? So that's really what it is. That is what my 2-week wait looked like. It was very mysterious, very confusing, and I'm hoping that it all works in my favor. This video is being recorded on today's the 20th of June. My cycle should have started on the 19th, which was yesterday. It hasn't shown as yet. And I haven't taken a pregnancy test as yet. I will test no time at all. I'm just gonna wait until my period shows up, and yeah, I'm literally gonna wait. Like, that's how I feel. I'm gonna wait. Maybe if I see this entire week pass, for matter of fact, I would only take a pregnancy test in July if my period doesn't show up. So you will just have to stay tuned, wait for another update, and we would see what happens. That was my 2-week wait, guys. Very confusing, very all over the place, but I hope this video, I don't know, it helps somebody, because maybe you might be able to relate with me and probably give me some feedback, based on what I would have discussed, and share with you guys. Let me know what you all think about my peaks and the things that I would have shared with you guys. For some of you, you'll know that your 2-week wait is so similar, has so much similar symptoms to like basically when your period is about to come. So sometimes there's a very thin line between pregnancy and period symptoms, and sometimes for people like us that are trying to conceive, those mixed signals could be very heartbreaking. I know it's very heartbreaking for me at times. Some months I'm able to deal with it better, and then there are other months where I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know how long more I could do this for. But I mean, I shake myself out of that quickly enough, and I'm ready to go again, another cycle. So like I said, this was my share with you guys for my 2-week wait. I want to send baby dust to all of you that are trying. I want to send love and hugs and kisses, virtual hugs and kisses, that is, I mean, because of this whole corona situation, to all of the moms that would have suffered a loss recently or in the past. I want to just extend love to you guys. I would love to get some feedback based on what I would have shared, and even share with me what you have been experiencing in this TTC journey. And stay tuned for the next video. I'm hoping to do my husband and I's love story soon. So hit that notification button, subscribe, and please continue following me on my journey, and let me know if you want me to start following you as well. So just put your feedback in the comments. Bye.